If you have health insurance, you might be able to see a personal dietitian for $0 out of pocket. Nourish connects you with a dietitian that fits your needs, covered by your insurance. Nourish accepts hundreds of insurance plans, and 94% of patients pay $0 out of pocket. Meet with your dietitian online and message them anytime through the Nourish app. With hundreds of 5-star reviews from real patients, you know you're in good hands. Find your dietitian at usenourish.com. That's usenourish.com.
Thumbtack presents the ins and outs of caring for your home. Out, uncertainty, self-doubt, stressing about not knowing where to start. In, plans and guides that make it easy to get home projects done. Out, word art. Sorry, live, laugh lovers. In, knowing what to do, when to do it, and who to hire. Start caring for your home with confidence. Download Thumbtack today.
At LinkedIn, we know hiring is a big deal for your small business. Sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming. LinkedIn uses data that you can't find anywhere else to give you the best candidates, all so you can feel confident you're hiring the best person for the job. And even a little hiring bliss. See why 86% of small businesses who post a job on LinkedIn get a qualified candidate within a day. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/message. LinkedIn, your next great hire is here.
It's time to get in the zone. Time to get in the zone with the 49ers Web Zone. This is the No Huddle Podcast with Al and Brian.
What's up, faithful? I'm Al Sacco. He's Brian Renick. This is the 49ers Web Zone No Huddle Podcast. It's kind of a monumental episode because Brian and I have a bit of an announcement to make. So the show is going to go on hiatus. So what's going on with us right now is, I'm sure most of you know who listen to this show, that we signed with Odyssey, or we're an Odyssey podcast, and we've been with Odyssey for 3 seasons now. Our contract is up, and we have decided, for reasons for us, that we are not going to renew the contract with them. So we said, well, where does the show go? For me, I am burnt out as hell. I love you all. I appreciate you all, but I've been doing this, with the exception of the year I was with CanBR, which was 2019. I've been doing the show for 7 out of the last 8 years. I'm just burnt out. I just kind of I'm still going to do content. I'm still going to write, and I may end up on a pod somewhere, but I am burnt out and need to not do this for a little bit. So the show is going to go on hiatus. The future of the show, is it going to be back? Maybe. Am I going to be back? I don't know. But that's kind of where it is right now. It's been a fun ride. You know, I've loved doing the show with Brian. Love the interaction with fans and everybody that's listened to it. Can't thank you guys enough. But for right now, show's going on hiatus, and the future of Al with the show, I don't know, guys. But I just appreciate y'all, and it's been a really fun ride.
Yeah, you know, it's been a joy for me. You know, I got invited on initially as the summer that Al, you were gone most of the summer, so Zane needed a co-host. I came on with Zane, and then at the end of it, your guys like, well, why don't we invite you on permanently? I was honored, you know, and then it just became you and I. You know, the whole thing with Odyssey. It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy talking football with you, talking 49ers football with you. But you know, I know what you know what it's like. You know, I've got young kids. You know, the schedule is getting hectic as they're getting older. And you know, some things happening in my personal life that are going to take a bit of my attention away from doing content like this. And you know, it has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed. You know, I appreciate everyone who listens, interacts on Twitter. I appreciate all of our friends of the pod, Jason Aponte, Steph Sanchez, John Chapman. You know, we've had Mike Silver on a few times. You know, the opportunity that we've had, you know, I think back to, you know, having Ricky, being able to talk to Ricky Waters, and we've had Cynthia Freeland on, and
Peter King.
Yeah, Peter King, that was massive. And Mark Schlereth has been on a couple times, and you know, it's just been it's been a lot of fun. And I don't know what the future holds. Like you said, I'm going to take some time after this at least through the off season. I am not going to miss trying to come up with content 2 times a week,
especially in May and June.
In May and June, and again, you never know. Once the season rolls around, I might get that itch again, but we'll see. But again, it has been an absolute pleasure, and we just again want to thank everyone who has listened, subscribed, commented, whatever it is. Anytime you've interacted with content that we've made, we appreciate you. And it's been a fun ride, and we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, the people that we've been lucky enough to have on the show the last 8 years, like you got to pinch yourself. You just said some of the names. We had Deebo on this year, and there's a ton more that I'm forgetting.
Yeah,
Dexter Carter. There's a million others I'm forgetting, and the beat writers that have always come on and supported us. Matt Mayoko came on this our 3rd show, which he didn't have to
Amazing.
do. Matt Barrows came in.
Yep.
I know I'm forgetting a million people, but I just appreciate everybody. It's been a really fun ride with this. And you know what? Again, who knows what's going to happen? But for now, hiatus for the show, and we'll see where we go from there. But we are going to have a show today.
Yes.
We're going to listen to Brian and I lament here or whatever we're doing
one more time
for 40 minutes. What I want to talk about is the Niners are heading into this off season. What are they going to look like without Deebo, without Greenlaw, without Hufunga, without Ward? Ward looks like he's gone. I mean, looks like a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Matt Barrows was, I think he was on the radio today, and he said it looks like Greenlaw and Hufunga are not going to be back, which I pretty much expected. And Deebo was requested a trade, which you could call that whatever you want to. I'm sure it was a mutual thing. But the Niners are going to look very different next season. I guess we could start with Deebo. Because my thought with this, Brian, was, it's time for Deebo to go. Like it's time for this marriage to end. And towards the end of last season, Deebo was would you call him a glorified kick returner? He only had over 22 yards once. He really was. He only had over 22 yards once in the last 7 or 8 games. His yards per touch from scrimmage was 8.7, which was the lowest of his career. His yards per carry, 3.2. He was a non-factor in the running game now. And receiving yards per game, 44.7. Those are both also career lows. He looks slower. He looks heavier. He may not really fit into this offense now that it's more of a downfield passing attack. He doesn't fit as well, obviously. It was time for them to move on. Having said that, they got to find somebody to replace him, because going into next season with Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings as really your only 2 wide receivers, because we assume Brandon Ayuk is not going to be himself or ready until halfway through the season. Niners need help there, don't you think?
Yeah, they definitely do. The bummer of it all is they restructured Deebo's contract, which makes trading him this offseason hurt a little bit more than it would have had they not restructured him. He's got this roster or option bonus that kicks in on March 22nd. So I would assume that he will likely be moved before then. I don't anticipate them getting very much for him. One scenario I saw was like Deebo and a pick swap with the Jaguars, where the 49ers would go from 11 to 5 and the Jaguars would get 11 and Deebo. I'm like, why
would they do that?
Yeah, I don't anticipate that happening.
Why would the Jaguars do that? I mean,
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're going to have to take their medicine on this. If they do trade him pre 6-1, it's a $30 million dead cap hit, which is effectively $15 million off their current cap space, because he already accounts for $15 million against the cap as it currently stands. I mean, theoretically, they could, if they don't find a trade partner, they could, along with Javon Hargrave, designate him as a post 6-1 cut, which would save them $5 million on the cap this year, but would cost them $20 million in dead cap in 2026, which would be a little bit more brutal to take on, especially knowing that they are looking to extend Brock Purdy this offseason. So I do anticipate a trade happening. I do anticipate it happening before March 22nd. And yeah, they're going to need to find another veteran receiver to come in and likely another draft pick at least to really supplement that receiving core, because we don't know, like you said, we don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall. Showed some flashes. Juwan Jennings looked amazing last year, but you're definitely going to need to add something there.
Speed. You need speed.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes, but I do think that his time here in San Francisco is definitely up. And I was surprised to hear that about the likelihood that Drake Greenlaw won't be back. I don't know what his market is going to be like, coming off the Achilles tear, not really playing very much last season. Looked good in the limited time that he did play, but again, kind of aggravated some injuries, didn't re-aggravate the Achilles as far as we know. I always thought a 1-year kind of prove it deal back with the 49ers made the most sense for him, but if he has a robust market, then yeah, definitely not something that the 49ers should probably engage in, just because, he is coming off the injury and they've got a lot of holes to fill.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on the defense, but going back to the receiver thing really quick, I've seen a lot of, not rumors that he's going to go there, but just people say it's a good fit for T. Higgins. I cannot see any
Where's that
way,
money?
Right. How the hell are they going to afford that? I mean, talk about a pipe dream. You're going to pay Ayuk what you're paying him. You're going to re-sign Purdy to, it's going to be a big deal. And then you're going to pay Higgins. I would be shocked beyond shocked if they found a way to work that. What I feel is going to happen, Amari Cooper makes a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Ton of sense. They were interested in him before this past season in the Ayuk trade anyway. Somebody like Darius Slayton, I feel like that's the kind of guy you're going to get. They do need a vet receiver, and they will sign one. Again, I would be shocked beyond shocked if they don't. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be one or more of those types of guys where you get him on a 1-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal. It's really a 1-year deal where you have that second year option. But I feel like it's going to be like more of a Cooper or a Slayton. T. Higgins is just an absolute pipe dream. Not happening. They cannot afford it. There's no way. But they cannot go into the season and say, hey, we hope Jacob Cowling is going to take a big step. Just can't do it. You have Pearsall, who looked good towards the end of the year. Jennings had a great season, but those guys, there's not a lot of speed there. They need to get another receiver. They need to get another vet guy who can come in and play big snaps while they're waiting for Ayuk, and maybe just to rely on for the whole season, because when Ayuk comes back, who's to say he's going to be Ayuk again? There's a lot of question marks there.
Yeah. So going on Pro Football Network, a list of free agent wide receivers. Now, granted, this list is 30 deep. I'm not trying to read all of them. But what you're seeing is like T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Darius Slayton. Those are the top 5. Stephon Diggs is in there, DeAndre Hopkins, Mac Hollins, Elijah Moore, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Cooks, Tutu Atwell, Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick is an intriguing one to me. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I mean, it's not, it's not necessarily a murderer's row of impressive names, but I would imagine of those 30 names, they bring in at least one of those guys. Again, just to fill out a room that all of a sudden looks thin with with Deebo moving on and Brandon Ayuk likely not to return until at least mid-season. If not, I'm still predicting the last third of the season.
Yeah, you have to go into next season, to me, not counting on Ayuk at all. Whatever you get from him is a plus. And you know what? I kind of feel, not to veer off the subject, but I almost kind of feel the same way with running back. I think you have to go into next year, feel like if we can get 70% of what we feel like Christian McCaffrey can be, like we're thrilled. And you have to bring in another running back there too. And Isaac Orlando has a huge history of injuries. He didn't look like more than a change of pace guy to me. They don't really have anybody else signed. I mean, I know Jordan Mason's a restricted free agent, right? You can bring him back, but they need to get another running back too. So they have some. We're going to get into the defense, like I said, but they have some questions on offense too with the skill stuff now.
So, like I said, Pro Football Network, right? They're doing their own rankings, but they're doing it for every position group.
Yeah.
So at running back, you mentioned Jordan Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think Jordan Mason lands on their list of free agent running backs?
Oh God, I didn't even look at the list of running backs. I'll say top 10.
2.
2. Okay.
They
so
have
it's
him at
not
2 behind
first?
J.K. Dobbins.
Oh, so it is not a real. Who's
So
third?
it's Najee Harris.
They have Mason over Harris?
Yeah. He's younger, and Najee Harris has not been good in Pittsburgh.
No, I guess that's true. I guess he's more of a name, right?
Yeah, their top 5 is Dobbins, Mason, Najee Harris, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, and then the top 10.
They got to be looking at age because Jordan Mason is not as good as those other guys.
Well, it's definitely age.
I mean,
it's definitely age because and then 6 through 10 is Rico Dowdle, Jalen Warren, Javonte Williams, Kenneth Gainwell, and Kareem Hunt.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely not an impressive list. Elijah Mitchell is 18th on the list. And Patrick Taylor is 24th.
You know what else though is we're talking about Deebo. I saw a lot of kind of good riddance with him, and we said it's time to move on. But for me, as you move on, or guys get older, Deebo, Eric Armstead, those guys are not easy to replace. I keep saying the 49ers are the 49ers because they have blue chip dudes everywhere. There's like 12 guys you could say are blue chip-ish or Pro Bowl. They have tons of guys like this. Now you're losing Deebo. You've already lost Armstead.
Mm-hmm.
Hufunga was more of a 1-year type guy, but still, he's likely going to be gone.
Trey Greenlaw.
Greenlaw is a blue chip dude.
Yeah.
And Charvarius Ward certainly was for his first couple of years. You're losing those guys.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't replace those guys. You just don't replace someone like Eric Armstead, who, regardless of what people want to bring up for stats, go look at what he did in the playoffs. 8 sacks.
Yeah.
You don't replace clutch guys like that in the playoffs. It's very hard to do. That's why I just want to be careful what you wish for. And it is time to move on from Deebo, but it doesn't mean you're going to be able to replace him. I don't mean the Deebo we saw in the last half of the season, the Deebo that we saw most of his career with the Niners. You're probably getting a step down from that, whoever you bring in. So be careful what you wish for there.
Yeah. And, excuse me. Deebo was a tone setter. And I think that's the other thing that doesn't, or I don't want to say goes unnoticed, but when people talk about Deebo, it is more about the downside, the lack of separation, things like that. But, he really was a tone setter. And, I don't know who that guy is on offense anymore outside of George Kittle. You used to hear all like the Yak Bros and whatnot, and that's over, right? Like,
oh yeah,
that is
it's a new era.
That was like a 1 season thing. There really hasn't been much of that past that, but it is a team in transition. We talked last episode, and you convinced me how bad how bad a shape the roster is in. Again, looking at your 49ers, looking at it through your 49ers colored glasses. I mean, they're still, to be fair, I think the 49ers have the 5th best odds to win the Super Bowl going into next year with opening odds and things like that. So it's not that the team that people are out on this team. In fact, people are still in, but there are a lot of moves that need to be made based on who is leaving, and they have to hit on these moves. Because if not, it's a roster in decline for sure. And losing a player like Deebo, losing a player like Greenlaw, I don't want to say losing a player like Hufunga, but Hufunga is going to get a deal somewhere, and it's going to be.
He's a starting caliber safety.
Yeah, for sure, sure. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what this team looks like come training camp later this year, because I think it's going to look quite a bit different than we're used to.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter code STYLE at checkout. That's harrys.com, code STYLE. Enjoy!
There's one thing that will forever change the way you sleep, and it's the softest, 100% organic cotton bedding from Boll & Branch. You'll fall asleep faster, wrapped in the most luxurious comfort. You'll never sleep hot again with airy blankets, cloud-like duvets, and breathable sheets. You'll experience pure comfort on night one and feel your bedding get softer with every wash. Discover the difference with 15% off your first order at bollandbranch.com with code Odyssey. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
You don't just live in your home. You live in your neighborhood as well. So when you're shopping for a home, you want to know as much about the area around it as possible. Luckily, Homes.com has got you covered. Each listing features a comprehensive neighborhood guide from local experts. Everything you'd ever want to know about a neighborhood, including the number of homes for sale, transportation, local amenities, cultural attractions, unique qualities, and even things like median lot size and a noise score. Homes.com. We've done your homework.
Well, here's the starting defense for me, and let me know if you agree or disagree, okay? We'll start with the defensive line. Defensive end, Nick Bosa.
Yes.
The other defensive end, I don't know. Defensive tackle, maybe Malik Collins. The other defensive tackle,
draft pick.
I don't know.
I think both of those are draft picks. I think I think the other D tackle and the other edge are draft picks, unless they go like Azeez Ojulari or something in free agency. But I don't think it'd be a big name.
And that's not even getting into the depth. You have Gross Matos,
right?
Maybe they bring Leonard Floyd back. Evan Anderson we like, but it's not overly impressive. There's issues there is what I'm saying. Or question marks anyway. Linebacker, Fred Warner.
Yes.
Linebacker 2. I don't know.
D Winters at this point just
but
default.
I have him in the base, linebacker 3 in base. If D Winters is your linebacker 2, I think maybe you got some problems there. So they're going to have to find right now, based on what I'm looking at here, I would say 3 to 4. I'd say more on the 4 side of defensive linemen, 1 starting linebacker. So let's say 2 starting defensive linemen, 1 starting linebacker. Corners, Lenore, Green. When you get in a nickel, I don't know. And your 4th corner, I don't know. This year, they needed 4 corners. You're going to need 4 corners. You're not going to get through the whole season with 3. So they need to get, so right now, you need 4 defensive linemen, a linebacker, and 2 corners. Safety. Starting safety. Mustafa is 1.
Yep.
The second one, I don't know.
Not on the roster.
You're going to need 4 defensive linemen, a linebacker, 2 corners, and a safety. That is just on defense.
Yeah.
Why are they in this situation? Well, I'll tell you where they are with the defensive line. Because what they tried to do was, well, let's go back a little bit. They've only taken 4 defensive linemen since 2020. Kinlaw, Davis,
wild.
Beal. It is wild. And Kinlaw, Davis, Beal. I just wrote an article about this. Read it on 49ers website.
Jackson.
Drake Jackson. Okay.
Yeah.
He's the 4th one. I wrote the article. I don't even remember. Anyway.
I edited it.
Oh, thank you. Was it bad? Because
No.
Dude,
no,
I'll read
I
it
edited
like 4 times and still like misspell words and stuff. It's hard when you write and your eyes are you're going cross-eyed and you got to go over it.
Yep.
Anyway, so they drafted those 4. Now, Davis and Beal were late round dudes. You didn't expect anything from them. But Kinlaw, you drafted to replace Eric Armstead. He did not do that.
No.
So
you drafted to replace DeForest Buckner. Yeah.
You did not do that. He did not do that. So 3 years into it, you have to go and make a huge free agent signing to get Javon Hargrave. I can't think of names all of a sudden. Javon Hargrave. I'm getting them all mixed up in my head. Javon Hargrave.
That's why we need a break.
It's why I'm burnt out, people. I need the break. You end up paying $40 million guaranteed for 9 sacks in 22 games, including the playoffs. Not a good signing. He's going to be off the team. You miss on Drake Jackson, who you got in the 2nd round, who you expected to be a bookend to Bosa. So what do you have to do? You have to trade for Chase Young, who's ineffective and leaves in free agency after the 2023 season. And then what you have to do for the whole defensive line, because you haven't been drafting, because you haven't hit on guys, because the guys you brought in haven't worked, they went back to free agency and they brought in Jordan Elliott and they brought in Gross Matos and they brought in Floyd and they traded for Collins. And what happened? Your defense was a disaster. They were all short-term Band-Aids. If any of these guys are back, they're all in the last year of their deal anyway, and they're more rotational guys at this point. So you have a problem. That's how you ended up here. You have a problem, and you decided to sign Devondre Campbell instead of bring Oren Burks back. Oren Burks played very well for the Eagles.
Yeah, he did.
Devondre Campbell was a disaster. You've taken 12 defensive backs or whatever it's been the last 4 or 5 years. There's been a ton of them, and you still need 2 corners, and you still need a safety. Well, I mean, you whiffed, it looks like, on Jair Brown. And you made draft picks where you drafted for, we need a kicker. Well, let's take a kicker. We need a tight end. Let's take Latu. They missed draft pick after draft pick after draft pick from 2021 to 2023, and you're seeing it in the defense now. They did not emphasize the defensive line in the draft. You look at the Eagles. I know everybody wants to look at the Eagles right now and say, like, oh God, the Eagles, we gotta mold ourselves after them. The Eagles just have a ton of good players. But one thing the Eagles did do is draft defensive line. Since 2021, dudes that made plays in the Super Bowl. Every single one of these guys. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Jalex Hunt, Moro Ajomo, Nolan Smith, Milton Williams. All of them played a part in their Super Bowl run. And all of them were drafted by the team since 2021. And the only guy who the Niners have since then who's still on the team or been impactful, I don't know. Are you saying Clea Davis is impactable because he's a rotational?
You mean as a defensive lineman?
That's all you got, because Drake Jackson is a waste. Robert Beal looks like he's not going to be around very long. It doesn't look like. And you have Cleo Davis, who's a rotational guy. Kinlaw was a huge bust, and he's gone. So there's your difference right there. If you want to look at the difference between the 49ers and the Eagles, is they invested in their lines. In the Niners, they've been drafting guys to. I don't know what the hell their plan has been to draft people the last 3 or 4 years. I really don't.
I think the other thing that the Eagles did that I haven't seen the 49ers do is draft replacements a year or two before they're needed. Right. And so, they draft Jalen Carter and Davis, right, a year before they lose Javon Hargrave.
And they hit on Jalen Carter, whereas the Niners missed on Javon Kinlaw to do the same thing.
They drafted Cam Jurgens 2 seasons before they lost Jason Kelsey to retirement. Right. And Jurgens plugs right in and right. So, I think the one thing that I think the 49ers have really missed on is a lot of luxury picks when they probably could have afforded to actually take more meaningful, attacked more meaningful positions. And, like you said, you're seeing it now. And now you're going into a season where, because you've had a lot of these Band-Aids, right, where you're signing guys to 1 or 2 year deals, the number of guys that the 49ers are losing this season is significant in terms of having to replace them. Like, they're going to have to sign a significant number of free agents and, hope that their 10 draft picks also make the squad. Yeah. Because they've got, I think, over 20 free agents. Because again, they're signing these 1 year, 2 year Band-Aid deals.
Yeah, and that's why you said they had the 5th best odds for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I feel like people are just saying, like, oh, it's the 49ers. And they still see some of these big names on the team. Because if you get past the big names,
feels that way. Yeah.
But I feel like that's the general consensus. Like, well, they have Trent Williams coming back, and they have Christian McCaffrey coming back, and they have George Kittle, and they have Brock Purdy, and they have Nick Bosa, and they have Fred Warner, and they have Lenore. Yeah, they have all those guys. But once you get past those guys, kind of like, oh shit, man. Like, there's a problem here. There's a problem here. And they weren't, I know they had injuries, but they weren't a 9-8 team that had a couple bad breaks. they were 6-11. And even despite the injuries, if you watch this team play and you watch some of the holes that they ended up having, they were not a good team. They really weren't. So it's for them just to flip a switch and say, we're going to come back and they're an 11-win team. I know the schedule is really easy, and that may be something that helps them. But other than that, this roster has problems. Like this iteration of this Eagles team that we've seen would wipe the floor with the Niners. A healthy Lions team. The Niners didn't play the Lions healthy. Their defense was in shambles. A healthy Lions team would wipe the floor with this 49ers team. I think the Commanders are a lot better than them right now.
Yeah. They have 24 unrestricted free agents. They have 2 restricted rights free agents. And then they have 7 exclusive rights free agents for a total of, I think it was 32 free agents.
It's just so many.
Like it's wild. So,
well, you can only go to that well. They can, like what they did last year with the defensive line. You can only go to the free agent well so many times before it's going to blow up in your face. You have to build through the draft. You have to. And they have gotten, and I'm not talking about guys who started with them for a while, long-term players, okay? Guys who are going to be on your team for the next 5 to 7 years. 2021 was only 3 seasons ago. So you would hope over these drafts, these guys are still going to be long-term fixes.
Yeah.
From 2021 to 2023, you got Purdy and you got Lenore.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Go and look at the drafts. That's all you really have. So of course they don't have depth. Of course they don't have, they're 6-11. Of course there's all these free agents and they have to sign all these people. They did a terrible job drafting the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Terrible. In 2020 was a really good draft despite Greenlaw. You got Ayuk, McKivitz, Warner, and Jennings. That's a really good draft.
Warner. Not Warner. Warner.
Charlie Warner.
Yeah, Charlie Warner.
So Greenlaw and Ayuk were first round picks, and then they got McKivitz, Warner, and Juwan Jennings in the 5th, 6th, and 7th. That's a terrific draft, other than Greenlaw.
Yeah.
But ever since then, it's been a disaster. And I still maintain this last draft that everybody loves. Yeah, you have some good players there. Pearsall, Green, Pooney, Mustafa are all going to be starters for you. Are any of them difference makers? That remains to be seen. We'll see. But a lot of holes, man. Still a lot of holes.
Hey, Fidelity. How can I remember to invest every month?
With the Fidelity app, you can choose a schedule and set up recurring investments in stocks and ETFs.
Oh, that sounds easier than I thought.
You got this.
Yeah, I do. Now, where did I put my keys?
You will find them where you left them.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
I know every operating system like the back of my hand.
I have 25 years of experience and have worked with several people from your company. I've been recognized for my passion. My team is everything.
LinkedIn delivers candidates who rise above the rest. With an up-to-date view into shared connections, skills, and interests you won't find anywhere else. See why 86% of small businesses who post a job on LinkedIn get a qualified candidate within a day. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/message. LinkedIn, your next great hire is here.
You also have holes on the offensive side of the ball, right? Like now, granted, not necessarily holes meaning like the players are leaving, but you've got a hole at center. You've got a hole at left guard.
Yep.
You've got a hole at wide receiver. You still need a second tight end. Whether that tight end is a blocking tight end or a receiving tight end, you still need a second tight end.
You need running backs.
You need at least one more running back. You need a backup quarterback. You don't have one now. Dobbs and Allen are gone. I mean, they've got the kid that they signed as a priority free agent. I don't remember his name, but obviously, didn't really make necessarily that much of an impact. But
I don't remember his name either.
Yeah, there are Mordecai, Tanner Mordecai.
Okay.
Look at that. Just percolating back there. So, and arguably you need a kicker.
You do need a kicker. Yes, you do.
Competition competition at kicker. And you need to get younger. You need to get younger and
they
faster.
need speed. They need speed in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
They're an old football team. Even their stars now. We didn't even bring up tackle. Trent Williams is going to be 37.
37. Yeah.
He was hurt a lot last year. Again, he's Trent Williams. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's one of the best left tackles ever, but he's not. He's going to get old. He's going to stop playing. George Kittle's awesome. He's 32. And you only probably have a couple more years either having him at all or playing at this level. Christian McCaffrey is 29. These guys are getting older. Some of these stars. Fred Warner's put 28 or 29. He's been in the league 7 years or whatever it's been, 7 or 8 years. Mm-hmm. These guys are getting older. Bosa's still fairly young. Lenore's young, but a lot of the guys are getting older, man. So there's this offseason. If I leave you with anything, I'll leave you with this. This offseason is huge for the future of this team. They're at a crossroads this year. They need to figure out what they're going to be and what this team is going to look like. And if it is a lot of Band-Aids and they do screw up another draft, guess what? Doesn't matter with Purdy or anybody else because you're not going to have anything around them. You're not going to have a good team around them. I don't know that they do right now. I just think they have some top-heavy dudes. They have some great players, but do they have a really good team? I don't know. I don't think they do.
I was, excuse me. I was just looking up Fred Warner because we couldn't remember how old he is. He'll be 29 in 2025.
And pushing 30 in the NFL is kind of the magic age.
Do you know what Fred Warner's cap hit is in 2025?
Oh, wasn't it like 35 million or 40 million or something like that?
It's 29 million.
Okay.
And then 2026, it's 26 million.
Don't look at Nick Bosa's in 2026.
And then and then in 2027 is a void year, but it still costs the 49ers 9.7 million.
So they'll probably redo that and push it back. I would think with both him and Kittle, I think they'll probably add years to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, decisions to be made. But I mean, you're not walking away from any of those guys. One, because they're still awesome players, but two, also again, they haven't kind of replaced anybody.
Yeah.
Even Trent Williams, there hasn't been a plan for that.
No. Bosa's 26 cap hit is 42 million and his 27 cap hit is 52 million. And his 28 cap hit is 42 million.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have to do something about that too. But that's why when you look at mock drafts, I've seen the Niners get mocked, I think, 4 or 5 different positions in the first round because they need, but I feel like people still, they're saying it, oh yeah, the Niners need all these positions, but then they're like, oh yeah, the Niners are going to be back next year. They need so much. Talk to me in May about if the Niners are going to be back or not at that point. Well, so let's see what they do. And then you could say, all right, maybe this team is looking good. Where is Ayuk in his rehab and when he's going to be back? Too many questions right now.
I will say this, Matt Mayoko came out with his first mock draft and he had the 49ers taking Tyler Warren and Mayoko is plugged in. So that concerns me. It concerns me that they think that they can make a pick like that at 11, knowing everything that they need, including a tackle, right, to replace Trent Williams, defensive tackle, edge, like all these positions that for the most part, at least offensive tackle, that if you're not getting them in the top half of the first round, the likelihood that they hit is pretty low, right? Which is why I'm still like I waffle back and forth between whether or not they would be willing to take a tackle at 11. We know they've done it before, right? We know that they took Mike McGlinchey high. That was top. Was that 9? What? I can't remember what.
Yeah,
I think it was top 10.
I think it was 9. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's the tackles that are likely to be available at 11. There's like a group of 4, right? It's Will Campbell, it's Kelvin Banks, it's Armand Membo, and it is Josh Simmons, who is coming off an ACL injury, which is a little scary. But I almost feel like with the depth at D tackle and edge in this draft, I think you look at possibly again drafting Trent Williams replacement and then stocking up on the defensive line in your next like second round, third round, fifth round, whatever. But it feels like to me, the only way that the 49ers can screw up 11 is if they draft somewhere that isn't the trenches. Like if they draft anywhere but the trenches, I'm gonna be upset.
I get that. Honest. I get that. I think that they need high level dudes again because I keep saying as these blue chip guys are aging out, there's nobody to replace them. They don't have blue chip. They don't have another George Kittle. They don't have another Fred Warner. They don't have young players at that level, Hall of Fame level. So if they felt like Tyler Warren was a Hall of Fame player and they could find a way to use him and Kittle together, I wouldn't hate that. But I agree with you. They need so much in the trenches that it would be one of those things where I would say personally, all right, let's see how this goes. But they definitely took a risk here. They definitely
to me, it's like Tyler Warren would be like, all right, I'm going to put solar on my house. And you're like, yeah, but your foundation is crumbling. Like your house isn't going to stay up very much longer, but those solar panels are dope. Like that's cool. It looks great. Right. But you're like, but you know what I mean? To me, that's kind of where they're at in terms of what they need and should be doing in the draft.
Got to go inside out. Got to build from the inside out.
Which is what they came in saying that they would do, and they did, and then they went away from it, and they can't figure out why.
It's like they're putting more emphasis now on guys with the ball in their hands, but like you said, if the foundation isn't there, and their foundation has gotten weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, and you missed on Danny Gray and TDP and Trey Sermon and all these guys, Cameron Latu, all these guys that you tried to bring in early. Those 4 guys are off. They're not good players. You know
what Cameron Latu has though? A Super Bowl ring.
Was he on the Eagles? Is he on the Eagles roster? I didn't even know that. I didn't think he was in the league.
Yeah. That's like what?
Danny Gray's on the Eagles roster too, isn't he?
Oh, I don't know. I just knew
Latu maybe he was. And was TDP? A few of those guys were on the Eagles roster. I'd have to look and see, but I saw something like with their names and I'm thinking, oh God in heaven. But these are, practice squad type guys, bottom of the roster dudes that you spend second and third rounders on. So man, this draft, I can't wait for this draft. I don't know if I've ever been more excited about free agency in a draft, at least not in a while, just because, I'm a football nerd. I like to see how they're going to do it. And I really feel like, not that I don't want to say it's 2017 again, but again, they're just at a crossroads where they need to start bringing in guys.
TDP is on the Eagles.
That's what I thought. Okay. They need to start bringing in guys who are going to really be the foundation for the next 5 years. And this is the year that they have to do it. So
yeah, for sure. The Super Bowl, I think, I don't think we necessarily learned a lot about what the 49ers need to do because we already knew this is what they needed to do. But what I thought was interesting was Kyle Posey posted this Monday after the Super Bowl. And, we look at what the Eagles did and they absolutely dismantled the Chiefs, just absolutely kicked the shit out of them. And I'll be perfectly honest. I hate the Eagles largely because I hate their fans. I've talked about it a lot. But the amount of joy that I got watching the Chiefs get the shit kicked out of them was immeasurable. It was like, I know that my team didn't do it and whatever, but just to see them get absolutely obliterated was phenomenal. But here's what I thought was interesting. Kyle Posey, who writes about the 49ers at Niners Nation, said the 49ers defense did exactly what the Eagles did in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs needed 10 possessions before they scored their first fluke touchdown last year. Remember, that first touchdown came after a muffed punt. KC didn't pick up a first down on 6 of those drives. So it was 10 drives, 6 of them were 3 and out.
Yeah.
And they turned it over twice. It was domination, drive after drive. The biggest difference, the 49ers could only muster 10 points through those first 10 possessions. By the time KC scored last night, Philly already had 34.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to score more than twice when your defense dominates for that long.
Yeah.
And again, what was the story of the Super Bowl? Steve Wilkes, right? Steve Wilkes was the scapegoat. No, the defense dominated. It was the offense that couldn't do shit. And I thought that was interesting. Like, I think too many people forget that. I think too many people forget that.
What you remember is the end of the game when the defense, when they stopped playing well, they really stopped playing well.
And the defense stopped playing well once Greenlaw went out. Like, I understand that. Like, they lost a lot when Greenlaw went out, but still, you should have had a significantly larger cushion than 10 points after those 10 possessions that you could have weathered when Greenlaw went down. But your offense only mustered 10 points.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda is the story of this franchise since 2011.
100%.
Really has been. So, and on that note, well, all right. Well, listen, we appreciate you guys so much for sticking with us through this whole thing.
Yes.
And everybody that's been listeners, whether consistently or you just come in and out, whatever, we appreciate you. And we'll see what happens from here. But just know that, Brian and I love all the fans. We love talking with you guys, and it doesn't go unnoticed, the support that we've gotten. So we really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And that's all I got. So
yeah, again, thank you all for listening. It's been a joy. And we'll see what the future holds. But regardless, Al and I will still be a part of 49ers Twitter.
Writing articles
with us there. Yeah,
still doing content, baby.
Yeah, 49ers Web Zone. And again, we may be back. We may not. It may be a different iteration. But until then, again, thank you all for the support. And go Niners.
Thanks, everybody.
Niners on 3. 1, 2, 3. Niners!
2400 Sports is an Odyssey company.
Is your team at work feeling a little disconnected? Maybe the workflow's not flowing? Try Confluence by Atlassian. Confluence is the connected workspace where teams can create, organize, and deliver work like never before. In Confluence, teams can whiteboard their vision for any project, easily create or access the relevant pages and resources they need, and discover important context they might not even know they need. Plus, AI helps teams jumpstart brainstorms, organize information, and connect workflows, so teams can move efficiently and create alignment with ease. In fact, with Confluence, teams can see 5.2% average boost in productivity in 1 year. So if your team lacks confidence, try Confluence, the connected workspace where teams can do it all. Set knowledge free with Confluence. Learn more at Atlassian.com/confluence. That's Atlassian.com/CONFLUENCE.